Well, okay, guys, welcome back to the show, and we've got some incredible stories to tell today. We've got Alex Stoos here. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
And Leon Bosman, of course, who knows a hell of a lot more about what goes on in Alex's workshop than what I do. But I'm going to start plugging into the actual nuts and bolts of what you actually do.
No pun intended.
And guys, if you like what you see, hit the like, the follow,
Subscribe,
and share wherever you can. And we're into all sorts of really crazy adventures. And what's also going to happen today, unbeknown to Alex, is that he's also going to be doing the hot lap, which is compulsory for everybody that's on the show.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
And because of all your bike experience, you should have a lot of
We're going to see how
hand-eye
that
coordination.
translates.
Well, I don't know if this is going to work, help my career or destroy my career, because when it comes to racing cars, I'm not the greatest.
No, but you know what? It's all to do with hand-eye coordination.
I mean, we've had that on the show quite a bit now, actually, Peter. I mean, Mikey flying helicopters, you flying planes, you riding motorcycles very well for many years. We'll get into that now. But there's definitely a correlation between these like high concentration coordination skills that does transcend pretty much any wheels.
And there was also Simon Borchert, who is an off-road guy, doing nature conservation.
And Rob as well. Rob did really good as well.
Are we logging the lap times?
We are. There's a comparative board.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to speak too soon.
And you'll be seeing how you did. You'll be seeing how you did against the other guys as well.
All right.
No pressure.
I don't want to get too cocky off the get-go.
But Alex, if you can introduce yourself. Alternatively, Leon can introduce him because, you guys know a lot about each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Alex, I mean, you and I have been chatting about this moment for many years. I mean, we've got our own little sideline thing where we kind of catch up on stuff.
100%, yeah.
But this we've actually been planning for many, many years in the making. So we're finally here. And we've got a lot of stuff to cover and a lot to talk about. Probably won't get to everything just
not
yet.
Not enough time.
Exactly. But for those who don't know, Alex is not a South African world class. He's an international world class motorcycle. I'm not going to call it a builder because it's a craftsman. It's an art.
Yeah, I guess that's I guess craftsman is more accurate. I don't just assemble. I design, manufacture, bleed, sweat.
You just bled this afternoon. You just cut your hand on that machine.
It's not too bad, but it could maybe do one or two stitches, but it's part of the craft.
Exactly.
So I'm Alex Stoos, owner and founder of Stoos Customs, and we design and manufacture custom motorcycles that's not only looks good but functional and a lot of fun to ride.
But I mean, let's rewind a little bit because I mean, you and I know each other for a couple of years now, and I know it didn't start with motorcycles. It started. You started that like I would call it like a two-wheel, but it wasn't really on wheels because you were into the jet skis.
Yes,
before.
I used to race
as well.
Yeah, I used to race boats, and then it formulated into jet skis, and then I became fairly good at freestyle jet skiing.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got my bravery from, trying to flip jet skis upside down.
Yeah.
And then just working with machinery. I grew up on a farm. Actually, where it all started was I got my first bike at I think 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My old man got me a three-wheeler, those Honda 70s, which were absolute death trap.
Wow.
And that's when I started tinkering and working on my own stuff and realized, anything with a motor it was for me. And then it evolved into a two-wheeler dirt bike, a KX65, and then racing boats and then jet skis. And my one mate that I raced with, he was telling me about a school overseas called MMI. And I didn't think that being a technician was an actual job option.
Like a career path.
I just, and it wasn't about being like the glorification of it. I just enjoyed, you get something that doesn't work. It's someone else's trash.
Yeah.
And you actually fix it, you bring it back to life, and it just comes alive. And that was so rewarding to me. And then I found out that you could actually do this as a career path. And, watching the GP, that there's actually potential of becoming fairly successful at it.
Yeah.
And then I immigrated to America, where I studied at MMI for Honda, Harley Davidson, and
that's where it started.
Yeah.
And you also made some interesting friendships, which we'll come back to in a little while as well, because I've got one of those like really dope moments, But I'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little while. But and then the journey, obviously. You've been tinkering with motorcycles. You then eventually decided, okay, this is it. You want to do your own thing.
Well, it was.
How did that kind of eventually come about?
Well, I've always been creative. So, I've always excelled at designing, and, other parts of school wasn't my forte. But I did well in the creative side of things. Yeah. And I watched Discovery, and I saw there was a show called Biker Build-Off, and I was like, damn, so now you can actually create, you always think everything's manufactured by machinery.
Yeah.
And there they showed you guys creating stuff by hand, like Indian Larry, old Russell Mitchell. And anyway, I carried on with my education in the States, and I wasn't ready to come back to South Africa, or I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And one of my mates was good friends with Russell Mitchell that owns Exile Cycles. And I was fortunate enough to fly over to California and get an apprenticeship with Russell.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that's where my passion for custom motorcycle and fabrication began. And I was fortunate to see and meet some wild people while I lived in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then they said, sorry, sir, your visa's expired. You have got to leave the country. And I tried everything to stay, but it was a blessing because I got to come back to South Africa and start Stoos Customs.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, 13 years ago.
Jeez, already.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
And now we're here.
But starting with the small beginnings, you had the workshop started. And we'll get to where Alex is now, which is, and I must say, as a mate, we become good mates over the years. And watching this guy grow this brand and his passion for what he puts into those motorcycles, man, it's unreal. Actually, I would actually encourage everybody. You don't have to even be like a gearhead or a petrol head to just go to the workshop and just make an appointment and just see what this guy creates. It's unreal. Actually, and it's world class. We're going to get onto some of the motorcycles that you've built. Obviously, the XXX. Yeah. That was like the start of it. Like, I would say when things like, okay, you're now on the international stage with a really amazing motorcycle.
Yeah. When it started, we started getting leverage when you shot was it the R18 or the R90?
Oh yeah, and when we shot it at the beach, yeah.
And then it featured in
Pipe burn.
Yeah. And then slowly but surely it started tinkering away. But I think the big international leap was when I got invited for the second time overseas. Well, to the handbuilt show.
Yeah.
From Alan from Revival Cycles, where he saw my bike and he was like, you need to come out to Texas and display your bike.
Bring your bike.
Yeah. And I think that's when it slowly but surely started getting momentum. I'll say 3 years ago.
That's insane.
When it started actually.
But it's like, you would think, and what was the response like locally? Because I know in the local building market, it's a very controversial scene at the moment. And it has been for many years.
You're too expensive.
But when you say controversial, are you meaning that it's a little bit behind times, or the workmanship's not that great, or the design?
I just think not enough of the true builders get the recognition locally that they deserve. And I say that because
100%.
I've seen Alex build some amazing motorcycles. I'm not just saying it because he's my mate, but this guy's talented, right? And a lot of those motorcycles would go into shows, and I would be like, not being biased, but damn, I know what's going on to that motorcycle. And you can go to his motorcycles with like a magnifying glass. There's not a scratch out of place. There's not a polish mark out of. Everything is 100%. And I would hands down say, that's the best bike here. And then you would see bikes that win, and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, that's a world-class motorcycle. But then that motorcycle goes overseas to the States and gets recognition in a world-class stage. So my point is, why wouldn't that bike get that kind of recognition and fame in South Africa, but overseas people are loving it? And that's kind of my point.
Yeah, and,
that's kind of my point,
We have the same problem with race cars, there's some guys that build incredible race cars here, and they don't get the recognition for it. But having said that, there's very few people in this country that can build a decent race car. And I must say the same applies to custom bikes.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of crap out there, for the want of a better word. I mean, you see these, you know, from far it looks great. You know, the silhouette is amazing. And when you start looking close and you say, I don't want to take this thing more than 100 Ks an hour.
I don't want to take it out the garage.
I don't want to take it out the garage, and the workmanship is really terrible. And I find that there's always a good guy in every workshop.
Yeah.
But if they could only just get all those good guys under one roof, you know, that's really what you need to build a really good product. And I think you've got that formula right, from what I can gauge by looking at your bikes.
And you know what I think it is as well is, like you said, there's not the quantity of people doing it is not a lot, and then the people that are actually exceptional at what they do within it is even fewer.
Yeah.
So I think people have acclimatized to poor craftsmanship. And it's not that it's poor craftsmanship; it's just that's all they know. And you know, it's hard if someone creates something but they've never seen better. How do they know that
exactly
it's not good? I was fortunate and blessed to start off with the best of the best.
Yeah.
So anything less won't do. So a guy might there in his garage taught himself how to weld, taught himself how to make a bracket. He did his best he can, and to him it's exceptionally good because there's no one else doing it. So the levels that they had to
aspire towards,
or compare or compare to wasn't accessible. You didn't have YouTube, you didn't have Instagram, you didn't have all these channels to teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
I was just fortunate enough where, you know, I started off at the best of the best, and you know, you were just fortunate to be in the door. If you did anything that was less than perfect, you were out.
You're out, baby.
And I'm grateful for that because it helped me to be so pedantic when I build a bike and maybe overcritical at certain points. But I think that's why we don't. It's not that they don't have a passion or they don't have the skills. Is they just had nothing to compare it to.
Up till now.
Yeah, although there are some sketchy oaks that are just doing sketchy things, but
I wonder why that is, because you know it's not just like you say, it's not just in the motorcycle scene. I mean, you see it in the racing scene. I've seen it in some of the car scenes. I mean, let's take an example: your Camel Trophy Tribute Porsche, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are building amazing projects. You know, Safari projects doing some great stuff.
Yeah, and it's world class.
Exactly,
and it's been compared to world class.
Exactly bikes. Now, but
that's amazing.
Locally, you know, it's almost like they're more well known outside of the African borders than they are within. You know, how many people that I've said, oh, they see this car and they think, oh, is that like a rally car? Like, no, that's a Safari project. And you start rattling off all these things.
And where are they based?
Pretoria. Yeah,
Pretoria.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Lekker behind the Vleisversagie iron curtain there.
Behind the Boerewors curtain.
Property out there with a bunch of Porsches that he's converting, old Porsches that he's converting to these. But you know, he's done his homework properly.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, I mean, when I came back from the States in 2017 or 2018, Johan De Bruyn and myself got together, and we both had this aspiration to build an amazing off-road 911. But overseas, they predominantly were using old classic Porsches.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, are damn expensive.
Yeah. And just going up in value.
Yeah.
So
all they're shipping
looking at a really good value 996, you know, it became very unpopular with its egg-shaped headlight, etc., which is now coming back with a vengeance, and there were a dime a dozen to buy them. So perfect car to convert for 500,000 rand instead of paying 1.5 or 2 million rand for a classic, and then still spending all the money to convert that. And so that's and a lot of design has gone in it, like you design the parts for your bike.
Yeah,
you know, you look at something and everything's got to be hand machined, I would imagine. You know, you'll look at a design, you want a part, you want an extended foot peg or a specific part that you want to put on the bike. You've got to design it, machine it, get the right metal, all those critical components.
Yeah. And that's also quite challenging in South Africa, getting the right metals, the right material to use.
It is. You know, we, like now for the build we're busy doing, I want to do a titanium exhaust. And no one could supply me the titanium I needed. Eventually, I was going to import it, but first of all, the time frame wasn't enough. So just to give you a backstory, me and my mate Joe, we did a biker build-off recently, and we had them on display at Smola Hill Climb.
And did you?
Yeah.
This last one?
Yeah, the one that just passed.
Damn,
Yeah.
why didn't I see it? I was there.
Yeah, it was tucked away at the top of underneath the monster tent.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had to do quite a trek to get there. And yeah, so we did a biker build off. The rules were it had to be an old 1981 shovel, and they had to have carbon wheels. Those are the only rules. And we both did these insane builds. We got a few partners involved. It's a company called Speed and Science, where they do the barrels and the heads are fully bulleted, machined out of air grade aluminium. And anyway, I don't know where I was going with the story. Oh, the titanium.
Yeah, the titanium.
So everything I wanted just had to be full spec. You know, had Olin suspension, carbon wheels, BSTs. So I was like, I'm going to make a titanium exhaust. No one could provide me with the right titanium. And the only company that could help me, I had to fly it in. And then, which pushed the price up. It would have cost me nearly 50,000 Rand.
That's crazy.
To make an exhaust, just because I had to buy it in length. And although money on the thing wasn't...
there wasn't a limit.
I had already got... I went over my budget 100%.
Yeah.
Just to circle back to something cool. So when you and I first met, that was the first time that I got to basically see BST carbon wheels.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I went to Australia and I went to the Phillip Island, right, where they got the racetrack. And they had a whole lot of Keanu Reeves' bikes standing there. One of his Arch motorcycles standing there.
Yeah.
The first thing that caught my eye as I walked up, I said, hey, those are the same wheels that Alex uses. It's the BST carbon wheels. And that is exactly the kind of level at what we've got products and what we can make here in South Africa.
And that's Joburg.
Yeah. BST, South African company, shipping those carbon wheels. And to be honest, I haven't really seen a lot of other bike customizers using BST in South Africa.
No, I mean, look, they come at a price. So, you know...
What is the purpose of a carbon wheel?
So the wheel is 3 kilos versus... The full wheel is 3 kilograms versus like your normal Harley wheel, which is probably about 20 kilograms. So your centrifugal weight...
All that rotational mass, so you're using less energy to pull the bike forward.
So we've been installing them a lot on the road glides. So next time you're around, you jump on with one of the bikes and you can feel the difference in handling. You know, Harley, you got to give it every opportunity you can to shave off some weight and increase the performance.
Well, I mean, they do it on race cars as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can probably relate it to like a single mass flywheel.
Yeah.
Quicker spool up, and then of course they're using carbon wheels on the serious race cars as well.
And you know, it's not just that force that you're stopping and improves your suspension, your braking, your handling. Just goes back to that old bicycle trick. You know, when you spun it and you move that.
Exactly.
So imagine trying to fight 20 kilos versus 3.
Only 3 kilos. Yeah, that's a massive
and they look
difference.
cool. Okay.
And they look really cool.
Yeah, they look cool. That's pretty much...
That's the plus.
So I want to talk a little bit about the cost. You know, what does it cost? Like you said, you built a bike now for that you displayed at Smola Hill Climb. Was that a sort of out of bounds one, or is that the sort of run of the mill what you do?
That's pretty much so that was me pushing my boundaries. So that's definitely the high end, the full spec.
Yeah.
Go wild.
So we're also using an 81 shovel here. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
That's also an old classic, very rare, probably expensive bike as a donor.
Well, I was fortunate where I was in a position where someone needed to offload it, and he's a mate of mine, so I made a good deal with him, and so I got it at a really good price. And the shovels haven't yet aren't as valuable yet. There's still plenty of them around.
Okay.
But all that is left of the 1981 shovel is the cases. We rebuilt everything. So the only thing is the cases and the engine number.
Okay. So that's like putting modern parts into an old chassis.
Full resto mod, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's
so can we talk about the costs? I mean, you know, you
pull out that checkbook,
there's probably somebody that's standing by to make you an offer on the bike or whatever, what it costs and so on. But, I mean, there's your cost and there's obviously the cost of, you know, if you had to sell it.
Yes.
but I'd love to look at the cost of doing something like it. So me as a client comes to you and says, listen, I want you to build me a bike like this. And this is my design, etc.
So there's levels, there's different levels. And like a bike like that would be about 1.4.
Is that so?
Yeah. So, about 1,000 hours we put into it of just labor is 1,000 hours. So the tank is fully shaped from aluminium by my mate Colt, who flew down from Texas and helped me out with the build.
Another cool guy.
Yeah. So is that the cost that you add on to that plane ticket?
No. I didn't
This is beers and whiskeys excluded.
And the woman very entertained. That would just if we had to do that build now, if someone said, I want that build, it would be 1.4 realistically for that build. It's got full Olin suspension, BST wheels. There was dual brakes, everything that you could put on there that is functional, but the best of we did.
And very reliable. It's not like these general choppers that the guys build and you drive around the
I build them to ride. I build my bikes to ride. Yeah. Look, it might leak a little bit of oil there because it's a 1981 shovel.
Well, where's the gaskets? The handmade gaskets stop all those leaks.
So, no, I mean, like, that's my whole thing is if I build... Anything I build, it needs to be ridden. So this, I'll show you a picture of it, and it is designed and manufactured to not only ride, but ride it hard.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit like that Roger Bourget that I had. That Fatso. I mean that guy just used to build, but he used to build a lot. He had a production. He'd get a perfect design and then pump a bunch of them out, 20, 30 or 40 of them out of each sort of section. But everything is handcrafted on that bike and it's built to ride. I mean, that thing used to go and takes a bit of handling to
you got to wield it a little bit first.
300 back wheel, which a good mate of mine, JP van der Spuy, now owns that bike. That's been all around the world with me and I think if you got it, it's like having a good watch. You want to take it with you everywhere.
It needs to tell a story.
It becomes a museum piece at some
100%,
stage. You can put it in your lounge. I mean, that thing of mine used to stand there. It was a showpiece of note. And I can imagine that bike being also a showpiece and you can ride it. It's fully functional.
100%.
Functionable.
And I think that's it is like, I wouldn't buy it as your only mode of transportation as if you had only one motorcycle because at the end of the day
it's like buying a supercar.
Yeah, it's a full custom. There's still we design everything. We don't have time to put 1,000 hours in R&D on a certain product. So there might be certain things that you come across that you could improve with the next build.
So you don't charge for the school fees.
No, a lot of the school fees are behind me. Well, actually, I lie; they're never behind you.
But I mean, that formula that you've got now. I mean, that started with that first bike that I saw, the one that went in pipe burn.
Yes,
but it's also important for people to realize that they don't have to there's not the extreme part. There's the daily as well. I mean, when I started doing all the motorcycle stuff, and I came to you with that Triumph Speed Twin, and I always said this has been a great donor bike to actually just give it like a Stoos workover. Then you did the partnership with Triumph and Monster. And you guys you got your fleet as well, your rental fleet. And what's so cool is he gives it the Stoos touch, right? So it's a bit of blackout, maybe an exhaust, maybe he changes a few things on the motorcycle. So even if you go and buy a brand new motorcycle off the showroom floor, or you've got a second-hand, R9T or a Triumph, whatever it is, take it to Stoos and let him give it you a little bit of, you've been pimped, you've been stoosed, and give it that touch. And I think that's the thing. It's the approachable side because your passion doesn't just lie, obviously, on the custom side. It's your kind of signature. It's your look. And I think all your bikes, I mean, I've been following your designs now for years, and it's definitely like this pattern of that's the Stoos look. And that's a great thing to have.
I think it's quite cool because one of my good mates, Shane, he actually owns one of my bikes, and he lives in Portugal now. And he phoned me up. I didn't know he was in town. He phones me up and goes, Stoos, did you just finish a new bike? I said, yeah. He goes, does it look like this and this? I said, yeah. He goes, it pulled up next to me at the stoplight and I knew it was yours.
No way. I was How cool is that? That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's cool. So
hang on a second. Does everybody call you Stoos?
Yeah.
So don't say Alex.
No. A lot of people call me, just Stoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite a cool surname, you know.
It is.
Where does that come from? I mean, what's the meaning of Stoos?
Well, I'm not sure what the meaning is. Maybe after a couple of beers, might just be doers. But
exactly. What made you think I was leaning towards that? Change the T for doers. Yeah.
Well, we actually created stickers and badges now that says "Your master's to us."
I love it. That's brilliant.
We're angling. I'm trying to get some crazy story out of you.
No, I gotta tell you a crazy story. I go on. So he's not gonna name drop much because he's a very modest guy, but he knows like movie stars and some really famous people, right? So one of the bikes I'm shooting for him. So we're shooting in the back of the industrial area there where the bike shop is, right?
Yeah.
I'm busy shooting with the camera and I'm like, Alex, hoi, and he's riding. I'm grabbing photos and everything. And I see this guy riding up on this old Harley. And I'm like, check this. Who is this guy?
He looks homeless.
He looks like just like every dude, but he looks like somebody that's been grinding on a machine for like long. You know, he's got that hard hours behind him, like super chilled kind of vibe. And he comes and he sits probably about 10 meters away from me. And I'm like, oh, how's it going? And I said, oh, you're waiting for Alex? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, cool, but I can't really tell. He's got like an accent, but I can't really tell. So Alex is coming by and it's like, okay, cool. And it's like, okay, go back to the workshop. And he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I'm Leon. He's like, I'm Trav. I'm like, oh, no, cool. Start chatting and him and Alex are like, oh, how's it going, bro? You know, I can see they know each other for, you know, good mates. So now we're going into the workshop and I'm chatting to this guy. And the whole time I'm thinking, this guy looks so familiar. Like he's got a face, like I've seen it somewhere, but I just can't pinpoint it, man. So Alex is up and down in the shop and we're sitting on the workshop floor and we're mopping up oil and we're moving Alex's bikes around because we're just having a good old chat. And maybe like 2-3 hours passes later and I'm like, oh guys, I gotta go. And I'm like, oh cheers, Al, thanks. Travis, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, it's not go well. And then off I go. And on the way home, this is like in the back of my mind. I'm like, this is like really starting to bug me. I know this guy. And then the name drops Travis. Travis from Vikings, like the main star from Vikings.
Seriously.
And he was sitting having such a... I'm asking him like, oh, where are you from? And he's like, oh, from Australia. I'm like, oh, okay, I was in Australia not so long ago. Great place. Really enjoyed it. Where in Australia? Having like this fake conversation. And I just like, I just can't like kind of pin it, man. And this is one of his best mates.
He was your neighbor. He literally lived across the road here when he was shooting Raised by Wolves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like, I don't know, I think it was maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So, yeah, he was, as you come in, they had the spot just across the way here. So he was your neighbor for a bit.
And such a down-to-earth guy, like really cool to chat with. You know, good stories, and you know you can see that friendship. You know, but it's an interesting story how you guys met, right? I mean, you shared accommodation, or how did you guys originally meet?
So a good mate of mine who actually got me the job at Exile, Reg. They were neighbors, so they know each other.
Exile, where's that?
Exile Cycles in California.
Okay,
and he knew Travis from when he ran all the clubs in Hollywood, and then when Travis said, "I'm coming down to Cape Town," he's like, "Well, book the house next door to mine and you stay there." And that's when me and him just kicked it off. I didn't know who he was. We were just getting drunk and drinking beers. And I was like, who's this homeless man you entertaining? And then,
so does he look like a bit of a homeless guy?
No, he dresses down like totally.
Maybe a bit like Magnus Walker.
Exactly, like that classic kind of classic style.
Okay, yeah.
But now he's doing the beer and all that other stuff.
Good oak, lives motorcycles, loves to drink beer. That's all you need, really.
Yeah. Is there anything else, really?
Yeah.
So
I got a little story now that you spoke about, not knowing about it. So I was up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And visiting a mate there. We had some flying stuff going on there. And so I walked, there's a big Harley shop there. I thought, let me go and have a look at a couple of Harleys. So I walked into the Harley shop and the guy comes and says, hi, can I help you? And I said, no, I just want to have a look around and see what you got here. And he disappears. Then one of his staff comes up there, a lady, quite hot actually, and says, Mr. Brown, we can clear the shop for you. Is there anything particular we can show you? And so I said, well, by the way, my name's Peter van der Spuy. No, you're fibbing. I said, who do you think I am? And he says, you're Brian Brown. You know, the film star from Tequila Sunrise.
All right.
So I said, well, I barely even know who he is, but I'm Peter van der Spuy, and nice to Mr. Brown. We were
Sure you are.
Sure you are. Yeah. Please take this handsome donation.
no. Tell you what, they kind of like cleared the shop without me sort of knowing about it. Then this dealer principal came up to me again, and he introduced himself and he said, it's really a pleasure to meet you, Brian. So I said, where are you guys getting this Brian Brown? He says, come on, man. I mean, you're Australian. I can pick up that accent from you. You look like him. You are him. I mean, come on, don't, stop fooling us around. And anyway, I eventually convinced them that I'm not. But I said I enjoyed the little bit of celebrity status there for a second,
Because you're part obliged to buy a bike.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of their sales strategy.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I had that in New York as well. I was sitting in a restaurant and an old lady came up to the table. Excuse me. I've got a bet with my friends sitting over there. A bunch of retired old gals sitting there having a good old ogle around what's going on, and I've got a bet going on with my friend, and I said, what? Yeah, what's the bet? And they said, well, I've bet them that you are Brian Brown, and one or two of them said no, and the other one said yes as well. So I said, how much money you got on it? She said, no, we've got a fair and square bet going on this thing. So I said, well, you're such a nice guy. You can tell them that I am Brian Brown. I'm not really, but you can tell them that. Oh, okay, cool, thanks. And they went back to this table. And then I got to the point where I better go and look at who this damn guy is. And
your research.
There's a little bit of similarity, but I don't know where they get it. But Americans.
Is it a compliment or insult?
No, I think I'm a hell of a lot better looking than he is.
So, Alex, I mean, from the celebrity stuff, I mean, you're busy now with some awesome brands.
Yes, yeah.
Monster being one of them. You've done stuff with a whole lot of stuff.
Wait. Go on the Monster thing. What?
Yeah.
Are you sponsored? Is it?
Well, we are partners, so we do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so partners in and we endorse. So we do quite a lot of projects together.
Yeah.
So the most exciting one now is I leave on Wednesday to build a bike at the Isle of Man with Monster Energy.
Oh, wow. So then do they sponsor you? Do they get you up there?
Yeah. So they fly me out to the Isle of Man, and I build my design of motorcycle at the Isle of Man while the race is
build it there?
Yeah. So I'm busy designing and manufacturing the parts in-house on a bobber, a Triumph bobber.
Yeah.
And those are so cool.
Yeah, they're rad. And then I load all the parts in my luggage and fly over to the Isle of Man.
Okay,
he's pretty much like a monster athlete.
Well,
yeah.
Less the athlete part.
Well, you got to be athletic to wield those the steel around.
Well, that's why we go to my wife's gym, so I can actually fill that athlete box.
Yeah, I mean, look at him. I mean, he's a lean, mean machine.
Exactly,
lean, whiskey drinking machine.
Yeah. Well, having said that, a little whiskey wouldn't be a bad idea.
It's never a bad
idea. We're not cross, And, so you design and build that bike here.
Yes.
Done, complete, then you strip it into its parts and you lug it all over there.
Yeah.
And then you so-called build it over there.
So we've created this this concept. It's called Grind and Grease Garage, and it's a mobile workshop.
I like that name.
Yeah.
Grind and Grease Garage.
Pretty cool.
I like that monkey. What's that guy?
Gas Monkey.
Gas Monkey.
Yeah.
Gas Monkeys. Monkeys got gas.
Yeah.
He's in a bit of trouble right now from what I can read lately. Yeah.
I was trying to pick up because I saw someone else building bikes for them and then delivering it to...
I think he's in jail, in fact.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Money laundering, tax evasion, and changing numbers on... He'll sell you in a regional, old, classic, highly collectible car.
Sly.
Sure.
And
didn't know that.
It's a custom build, but with a regional... numbers and that on this.
Oh, that sucks.
I was looking at it the
'Cause I
other
read
day.
his-
Huge fraud.
I read his book. His book's really inspirational. And he
I've
left-
actually met him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In
Rawlings. Richard Rawlings.
Yeah.
Oh.
I knew his ex-girlfriend, and we were at some pub in Dallas, Texas, and
Oh, wow, yeah.
he came bowling in there, and he bought us a bottle of champagne, and he's a very sort of gregarious, outgoing guy. A hell of a nice bloke.
Yeah.
But when I read all the stuff on the internet, all these international people,
Wow,
international
crazy.
Yeah.
TV stars. I mean, he was basically a TV star at
Yeah,
a huge
exactly.
show.
Well, I think that's what it. I read his book about that. How many times he pitched it to DSTV. It was like 12 times they recorded the show, and on the 12th time it kicked off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So sorry.
Unreal.
Yeah, no. So Greece, what? What? Not the
Gr-
Grease monkey.
grind and grease.
Grind and Grease.
Grind
yeah.
and grease garage.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's like a mobile workshop, and we've got everything set up there at the Alaman in the fan park. It's called the Monster Village, and we've got a welding machine. We've got grinder. So I've manufactured most of the parts here, and then I'll finish them off on the island. And assemble the bike, and then that bike will be put in Monster headquarters Europe.
You want a little whiskey?
Oh, definitely.
For him.
Yeah.
We,
No, get glasses.
I've got a glass here.
Perfect.
I've got a Shivers glass here. Man.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
He's my designated driver.
I'm a designated driver. Uber Lux.
Good old Shivers whiskey branded glass here.
Nice.
There's a sink over there. You can just
Yeah.
clear it
So
out. So that's. I mean, so they would sponsor you.
we've been doing a lot of activation. I mean, we've been working together for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And it just started off with them coming to the workshop, handing out the cans, being part of my events.
Yeah.
And then we did a biker build off in Joburg in 2018, and you could win a Stoos Customs through Monster, and you just had to buy Monster cans. And the one guy bought 25,000 rands worth of Monster cans at the event to win the Monster.
He got a bargain
He got a bargain
because that bike's worth a lot more than
Yeah.
25 clips. Eh?
Yeah,
Jen?
and that's the bike my mate Shane actually ended up buying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Trying to kill
That's
me.
awesome.
You're trying to kill me with it. It's 3/4 whiskey with a touch of water. Damn. Just diluted. Just diluted more water, please. Just fill it up, yeah.
Just
Thanks.
a splash.
But I mean,
But she doesn't drink, so.
back to the custom motorcycle stuff now. So the first one I saw was your, what's it, XXX, eh? It's a 3Xs or 2Xs.
There was the XX stood for 20 in the numeral, Roman numerals.
Yeah.
Because that was my 20th full custom build.
And that's the one that went overseas.
Yeah, that's the one that went to the Motor One show.
Yeah.
And the Handbuilt show.
Handball show. And then you took it to a UK.
Oh, yeah, the Bike Shed show,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is actually happening right now. So it was this time last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I'm actually, I actually wanted to leave a little bit earlier to go to the show because it's also the MotoGP happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot happening. So I have to work a little bit.
So, I mean, that's the cool thing about this, Peter, is, that bike that he built, it wasn't just a case of it went overseas. I mean, it actually
Amazing.
won
Thank
awards. This bike went overseas.
Oh, really?
Won awards. Went
Cheers,
to the
Peter.
UK.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll just cheers the water.
Talking about whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah. When are you going to get some of your coffee going? Yeah,
I need to. We actually need to get the espresso machine down here, I think. Yeah, we can start making coffee on the show.
Easy, I can put it over there. Yeah,
I think we
And
should
if it's
do
too
that.
early, we just have a little whiskey and coffee.
Exactly. You got a bit of both worlds.
For those guys who don't know, he has just launched a new brand of coffee
Oh, thank you very much.
called Kaap,
That's it.
which is basically Cape. I
Cape,
would
yeah.
imagine.
Afrikaans for Cape.
Cape,
So
and,
everything that's
it's bloody delicious. I'm already using it flat out. Thanks for the donation. And
my pleasure. Got to sponsor the show.
Yeah. Okay, so you were talking about. Okay, so I want to know, what's like a really exciting event that you had, or not even an event, an experience? Maybe you delivered a bike that turned out to be a real bad one, or you delivered a bike to somebody who was a real asshole, and
I haven't had any of those moments. I must say.
all the clients have been amazing.
You know, and that's you mentioned about the servicing and the customizing.
Yeah,
I must say, like
servicing is where you get all your
that's where the
assholes,
shit is. You know what? I must say, I've attracted really awesome clients. I must say, like one of my new clients, Ramsey, he's a legend. He is also a photographer, and I built him a bike, and he was so stoked. He ordered me these insane leather boots, and he's
wow.
He's just like, I want to gift this to you because you're giving me such an awesome bike. And
That's amazing.
you know, all my clients, I think you know, people come to me because they enjoy my style, my design, but it's more than just a motorcycle. You know, when I build a bike, I'm literally giving, 1,000 hours of my life.
That's part of your life,
And literal blood, sweat, and tears. So I did have a guy walk in the other day, a younger chap, younger than me.
But I mean, you're only 25. Or
36, but thank you.
where do you get, with all this massive experience he was talking about, you should be 60.
I feel sick. No, I'm joking.
That's 1,000 hours into that long bike.
1,000 hours per bike.
I had this guy walk in, and he obviously, I don't know what he does, but he's done exceptionally well for himself. Well, it looks like it. And everything, he just was all about money. He just like, I want this. Do I look cool? I want this, but I want it now. I said, I can't do now. He goes, yeah, but I'll pay you. I said, no, there's a queue. I've got a bike built, so I can't build your bike now. You got to wait. He goes, no, I'll pay you more. I said, I can't pay me more. I said, there's a line, there's a queue. He goes, yeah, but I want it now though. I said, I think you're at the wrong place. I said, you need to go to...
Like as in now, as in
like he wanted
tomorrow.
me, like in the end of the week, he wanted me to craft him...
a bike in a couple of days.
Yeah. And then I just said, I think you're a dealership man. And he didn't quite like that reference. I said, you don't understand what I do here. I said, I literally, I want, when I sell a bike, it's not just for the sake of selling it. It's a piece of myself that leaves with it. So if it's someone that doesn't appreciate the time and the craft and the art of it, I don't want to do the bike for you. I've tried doing it where it's just about the paycheck and you don't enjoy it. You know straight away that for some reason your heart's not in it, regardless if it's carte blanche. But if you know it's not going to be appreciated,
But that sets apart a brand from an actual community, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got your brand. But I've been to a lot of your events, and a lot of your customers end up becoming your mates.
Yeah.
And it's a community thing, you know. And it says a lot about character as well. Somebody wants to come and chuck some Tom down and say, I want to skip the line. Sorry, dude. That's the thing. And that's a good sign of character, at least, And
there's only so much hours in a day.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, he did return with a different attitude, and he waited. And I did offer him a different type of build that he could have in 4 weeks. Because there's different levels, and so he got his bike. To him, it didn't matter what it was, and then you know how to cater for certain people. So,
do you build bikes that you just sell? Like build it and then wait for somebody to come in and buy it?
I used to, but became very expensive, and I end up sitting with 3. Because your vision of a bike
might be different.
Exactly. Look, I built to my style. I'm not going to build a how you tell me to build a bike. I'll do it in a genre. So like you'll say, I want a bar hopper in this style, but a Stoos way.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. But it's difficult. Like for instance, this bike now that I've finished, that's 1.4. If the guy's spending that kind of money, he might not quite like the handlebars. He might not like those wheels. He might not like that. If he's spending that cash, he wants me to build it for his height, his weight, those are all things I can change to this bike. But
is this the one that you had at Samoa?
yes, correct. Okay. And this one, it leaves to go to Europe in the next couple of weeks.
For a competition or?
For a show.
Okay, okay. And is that one for sale?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but you never know. A guy might see it and be exactly the bike he wanted.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing is the people now that I am, it's like associating or coming, like they're becoming my clients, to them, they want it exactly how I've created it. They don't want to change it because they want to put it next to their in their man cave, next to their other bikes, just on display.
When you say hourly 1,000 hours, what do you charge per hour?
700.
Okay, times 1,000.
So you see, I'm already running a loss.
700,000.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's a lot of hours.
But I mean, that's where your margin is, in your own labor,
Yeah. So
unless you're using other guys' labor.
yeah, but all the custom bikes, I do all that. So the custom bike builds is
all in-house.
solely me, and then
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you got the machine in the back as well. You must see
Yeah.
some of the cool parts he gets out of that
Oh,
machine.
you know, when I did come to your place, it was a couple of years ago. You had amazing, like CNC machines.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind
Which
of like
was
with the small
impressive.
beginnings. Now, I mean, you've taken over 3 shops, essentially. 3
Oh,
buildings.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
So
that's-
tell us more about that. I mean,
Well, yeah,
that's
now-
grown quite a bit.
we were at once 170 squares, and now we're at 1,000. But we do store, so it's evolved, and which I love about it is the custom bike building is one of the facets of my business, and like now this mobile garage is another, and then we've got a storage facility called the Motorcycle Vault, because a lot of our clients travel and they've got several bikes, and they want to make sure that the bike starts every time, the fuel's fresh, so they leave their bikes with us. They go travel, and we drop it off at their hotel when they come down. They can ride it for as long as they want. We collect it and then store it again.
It's amazing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But like car storage, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
supercar storage.
Yeah.
So it's like the archive just for
Yeah.
motorcycles.
Yeah.
And you've got a full functioning workshop with fully qualified technicians. And we can design and manufacture anything else you need. So just that alone is quite cool because they store the bikes with us and they're like, well, you may as well
Yeah.
customize
While
it.
it's there.
Yeah, exactly. While you got it.
But you guys have got some amazing motorcycles there. I mean, there's some proper museum pieces that guys own.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we had a 1930s Indian there for a bit.
I remember that. It was a beautiful motorcycle.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So yeah, we're very fortunate.
Very, very rare. Very rare.
And that's what's so cool about the coffee shop is, you know, you can sit there, have coffee, and then there's that glass window
Yes,
that's
you can
back.
see them all through.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's great.
And the future? What's the future look like? I mean, besides jet setting, I mean, you got a lot of events going on. The rest of this year, I mean, you've got to like schedule your life now.
Yeah, I mean, this year I think next year is I'm waiting for. So this is it's quite exciting because so we did this concept in South Africa and it worked quite well, and then now we're taking an Isle of Man to see how that works in Europe.
Yeah.
And once it's a success, then they've got several other events they would like to do this at throughout Europe. So I think next year could be potentially
It's a big
quite
one.
a crazy one. So then that'll be like a couple of motoring events.
That's going to be
I'm
awesome.
trying to think of that bike's name that a couple of the movie stars have got. Very special bike that was owned. I think Tom Cruise has got one. If you'd say the name, I'll know what it is. Very, very. I was trying to look on your website to see if I could see a similar type of build, but very. How can I put it? It's all like brushed aluminium. Damn, the name's on the tip of my tongue. now.
Confederate.
Confederate.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
We've had a Confederate at the shop as well. There's
Is that so?
there's only 2 in South Africa.
Now, I thought I passed Croslin Webb the other day, and it looked like there was one standing in the
Indeed.
door. Is
That is a
that
Confederate.
one?
Yeah, that's one of the original Confederates when they just started rolling off the ground. And now they've actually been rebought over, and they're called combat motorcycles.
Oh, yeah, it does look very combat-y like.
It does.
It's such a cool-looking bike.
Oh, they are rad. They're just that raw chunk, like
Yeah.
brutalness. They're really cool motorcycles. To ride it is another story.
So is it a
not
bad ride? In other words, not as good as yours.
Well, no, I'm not saying I
the
wouldn't.
Confederate, I mean, they cost a fortune, if I remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
mean, back then they started at $50,000. Now I think they're about $80,000.
Okay.
I would-
For a brand new one
Brand
now.
new one, yeah. But I would like to ride an Arch motorcycle.
That should be quite cool,
Keanu
yeah.
Reeves.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah. He's got his own motorcycle brand.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when I lived
Yeah, look.
in LA, I used to, and I was moving back to South Africa. God Hollinger, who's his business partner in it, owned, I think it was LA Choppers, and I used to buy all my old parts from God.
Oh, wow.
And when I went back to LA, I said, you're not allowed into the Arch motorcycle, the manufacturing place. So I just said to the guy, they said, just tell God, there was that annoying South African kid that wouldn't just leave him alone to buy all his old parts. Tell him he's here and would like to go on a tour. No, he's like, I don't even know who you are. I don't think they're going to let you in. And then 10 minutes later, they says, okay, God says you can come have a look at the
How cool is that?
Yeah, so I got to go walk around the setup, and it's like literally like Iron Man's workshop. As you walk,
Oh, really?
it is insane. They've got probably like 10 CNCs lined up, but as you walk, the light behind you turns off, and then the one in front of you turns on.
No way.
It is so cool.
That's incredible.
But I'd love to ride one of those bikes.
They just
But
couldn't
I'm
get
just
you on
looking
one.
at it. I'm just looking at it now. If it's the right one, Arch
Yeah, that's the one.
Motorcycles.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It doesn't look anything like the Confederate, for example. I mean, this.
So it doesn't look like it, but if you
it
look at
looks
the
like
ingenuity,
a very rideable bike.
so the gas tank is machined out of a solid block of aluminium. Like the ingenuity behind it is insane, and you would appreciate it.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah, it is. It is wild, and yeah.
So, but if the tank is molded out of a solid, how do they get the inside out?
So they do two halves,
Okay.
and then they mill it out, and then they weld
Put it
it.
back together.
Yeah, so it is wild.
Crazy, yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's his own brand.
yeah.
Yeah.
What did they cost?
They were starting at $70,000, which is
Okay.
not bad. I mean, I think
Well, in America, that's the price of a Mustang on steroids. I mean, full blown bloody car, exotic car for that.
Yeah.
But if you
Porsche,
look at the ingenuity and you go like everything is out of a solid block of aluminium, everything's machined and numbered.
And it comes back to the hours, really. It's like
Yeah.
craftsmanship.
Yeah. And then they're
Yeah,
running the power plant is like the I think it's a 131 SNS motor. So the money,
131, wow.
yeah. So it's got plenty of grunt.
What is one of the most memorable bikes you've ever ridden?
Sure.
There's a question.
I think
Well, had you ridden my Bourget,
it's
it's an experience.
Yeah, I think that would be when I got to ride my first Exile motorcycle.
Yeah.
I delivered it to John Mellencamp. I had to drop it off for him, and I was never allowed riding the bikes. But I don't know what the story was, but I had to go pick it up from him, and
That's
I
insane.
got to ride it back. So I think that was quite cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool one. Not nearly as cool as mine. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's
And I nearly
nice.
dropped it.
Doing
Yeah,
that
look at
So
that.
look how cool that is.
Yeah, doing that solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
And you
crazy.
see like all the
Yeah,
that is
quite cool, eh?
Yeah, very cool. I love how they've machined out arch and they've brushed the tank and left the machine marks in the arch.
Yeah, small
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, very.
But I mean, that bike that you built now, the biker build off with Joe from Ilobo,
Yeah,
also
yeah.
such a cool guy. I'm so glad I got
He's
to
a
meet
legend,
him. He's a legend guy. That
Man.
And what I like is
That's
you know
Joe
when-
now. Joe, who again?
so Joe is from Ilobo Motorcycles. That's the other. That's
Ilobo.
Ilobo.
Elobo.
Ilobo.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
where's
the
that?
wolf. Yeah.
The wolf.
Yeah, that's Alobo is
Ilobo. Yeah.
the wolf in
Oh, was
Spanish.
that? Was that in?
Spanish, yeah.
So that's me and Joe met in at the Bike Shed London this time last year, and we just kicked it off, and we just our vibes
Synced.
synced, yeah. And we came up with this wild idea to do a biker build off, and that's who did the other build. And he's actually a surgeon or something. So
Yeah, that's right. And
Oh,
his
really?
wife as well. Yeah.
yeah. So he's actually was a surgeon and then now does custom motorcycles. So yeah,
So how do you spell that Ilobo?
EL
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then space LOBO.
Space.
Yeah, his bike that he built is insane, like full carbon tank.
He's listening.
Well, I still got the photos on there.
Ilobo motorcycles.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, those are like serious choppers, eh?
And that was so cool, like, because the build of like, and just to show complete different ideas and genres of what one would do with a shovel.
Yeah.
So here we go, Peter. Here's some of the photos from that shoot that we did. We actually did a shoot
is that
of his
one
bike.
of them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
saw
Joe's
this.
motorcycle. Yeah. So
Oh,
you've got
my
the
word.
custom on the also got the BST wheels. But now it's interesting to see how the difference is. I mean, look, there's Alex's bike that he built. I
Yeah.
mean, that thing looks like a jet fighter as well. Look at that red.
Yeah. Like a sort
But
of cafe racer
both
type.
exactly the same like base motorcycle, but two completely different looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are those the carbon wheels?
Yeah.
Those are the carbon wheels. Yeah.
And now went
Okay.
with the forged carbon.
Yeah. That forged
Forged
carbon.
carbon.
Yeah, look at
Well,
his.
they call it forged carbon.
So he's got like a speckle on the rim.
but it's actually like chopped carbon put as a like display.
And it's like all
It's
laid
not,
on.
it's not actual forged.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been an experience of note. You know, I always knew about you, but I didn't know that you were that spectacularly famous.
Yeah.
And
We've
that
got
your
a famous guy right here in
ingenuity
Cape
and your
Town.
design, and then right here on our doorstep. And we have a lot of serious guys, you know, on our doorstep here in South Africa. And I mean, you are basically proudly South African now.
100%.
Yeah. How long have you been here now?
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in South Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then-
but German background. Right?
Well, my dad's French, and then my stepmom's German. So I've been brought into like a European family, but I was born Cape Town and then left when I was 18 and then came back when I was 22, 23.
So did you only have 3 years?
4 years,
Five,
just over 4
5.
years in the States.
Yeah, gaining all that experience. And, that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, the products that you're putting out here is just something else. I've been like scanning the internet there, and I need to get back to your workshop because the last time I
Yeah,
was
we
there
need
was
to
a couple of
you
years
need
ago.
to do a proper workshop visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can record that as well. Let's get that on for the guys. We need to.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do one. Yeah.
Come for
We'll
a coffee
do,
and then come check out the
we'll
vault.
do a little round, a little tour on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
You know, go and
To be continued.
come see
The
your shop.
amount of talent we have in South Africa is insane. Like I don't know, it's just so cool that I'm meeting people that you never even heard of. Like now,
Yeah.
you're saying now the guy with the Porsche.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when South Africans do stuff, we just do it proper.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the small little workshops I'm finding that are tucked away, and you
Yeah.
hear who their clients are. It's not even
Yeah.
for the South African market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it really makes me proud to be South African and to show the world, like, you know, just
What
this-
you can do, yeah.
with small little South Africa.
It might be a little speck on the southern tip
fit
of
into
Africa.
Texas, but look what we can do.
We're pretty
So
powerful.
is your order book pretty full at the moment?
Well, it's a fair amount.
I'm
I've
just
got-
thinking
yeah,
that, you
not
know, we can push you a couple of more bikes, guys. Anybody out there wants the custom bike built,
Yeah.
you know where to go. Stoos Customs.
Stoos Customs,
and
that's the only one.
yeah, he's pretty much available. He can build your bike in the next couple of months.
But you need to
Not
get onto the
tomorrow.
waiting list.
Yeah.
Get your
Not
name
tomorrow.
down. Get
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
list.
yeah.
If you're not on the list, you're not going to get one.
Yeah.
You got to get on the list.
So what do you think? Have we covered all the ground? Is there anything else that you'd like to
Well, we need
put
to
out
see,
there?
we need to see how quick he's going to be on the ultimate test.
Ah,
Now
now.
this test is meant to forge men.
I should have done this before the whiskey.
The whiskey
Actually,
was there to loosen you up a little bit.
I mean, racing boats, racing jet skis.
I mean, we haven't
doing
even touched on.
aerobatics
We haven't
jet
even.
skis,
We haven't even.
I probably
touched
should have
on
left that
yet.
out because now
scramblers. Extremely creative. You know, these are all the talents or the
Top tier.
the input that you need to have very good hand-eye coordination.
Mm.
I mean, especially from a creative point of view. Like, he's working with his hands. He's
Yeah.
turning out all these amazing parts.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sort of referring to myself now in a little way too. You know, done all these little sports and having this amazing creative brain. It gives you an automatic. You know, when I started racing, the guys said to me, I'll never forget. I always wanted to race, but I never knew. You know, it's like you love to be a pilot, but how the hell do you get into it? You know,
Yeah,
how do you start? Where do you start? Until somebody came up to me and said, "You need to be on a racetrack." You know, when I was doing these Porsche Club hill climbs and events and stuff, Andre Besaidnet, I'm talking about specifically. And I said, yeah, right, you know, where do you even start? He said, I've got a race car, get to Johannesburg and I'll teach you. And then, anyway, I went up there and did a couple of lessons with him. And it was terrifying to drive a car with normal tires and then going around the same track with slicks.
Yeah.
It's like your mind can't get around the grip. You know, I thought we're going to crash on every corner. Andre, geez, I mean, you know, take it easy. Yeah. No, you'll be amazing. He's just changing anyway. So then he I started going along, and he said to me, "Yeah, you sure you haven't raced before?" No, I haven't. He said, "I don't know. There's just something here that's, I mean, you're getting it.
You got it.
Not well, but I would say better than the average."
Yeah.
And eventually we started talking after a good couple of lessons and that. And Pete said, "What do you do, you know, for a living, et cetera, et cetera?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm a, Gulfstream jet pilot, and we run around the world." And he said, "That's it, you know."
There's the connection.
There's the connection. He just said, because, we train on simulators every year, twice a year, in Savannah, Georgia, in the Gulfstream factory at flight safety. But flying it's exactly
micro
it's all about
inputs.
that. Yeah, it's all hand-eye coordination. And if you've got a creative brain behind you as well, you like to connect all the engineering side of things, because I mean engineering and creativity is they
hand in hand,
go into one.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember I went to do an aptitude test at CSR, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. The Afrikaans version is VNNR. It's a parastatal thing, but they do all the R&D for the industry in South Africa, and they do all the patents. But the interesting thing is you go and do an aptitude test there, because when I left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in a technical school, and my dad said, go and do an aptitude test, my son, and then see what they tell you to do. Anyway, I go and do this thing. I spent 2 days there, and they everything from building puzzles to maths to IQ, and they really grind you. It's not like this 1 hour test that you can do it. Anyway, so now you go for a debrief. And the guy says, the highest level on your aptitude is art. Now, I was in a technical school, had never done a drawing in my life. And I'm thinking, now I'm going to sit on the street corner and do portraits for passerbys. I mean, this is it's not going to happen. And I thought, that's like, I thought that's like really,
How's that going to happen?
I said, what's the next level? He said, numericals, math, science, engineering. I said, hold on a second. You guys have screwed this test up properly. How the hell do you relate the two?
Yeah.
And apparently they are properly related. I mean, with the engineering background, with the math, science, and all that, with creativity, it's a serious bond.
Yeah.
And that's when I went on and studied engineering, and
interesting.
and then got into flying.
You did engineering
afterwards.
first, and then got that's incredible.
Yeah. I was doing chemical engineering and design, and we did I did a lot of R&D. In combustion and cryogenic engineering was my speciality, and but started flying on the side, as PPL once I could afford it.
Yeah.
Because when I was a lighty, my dad always said, "What do you want to do, son, when you grow up one day?" And I always used to say an astronaut, So which obviously was impossible for us South Africans to do, but we don't know that in me. So I always wanted to just get my little private pilot's license. But when I did eventually do my pilot's license, I felt so stupid, with the PPL, and then I said, okay, do an instrument rating and, the night rating, and, I just need to tack on another subject or two, then I'll have my commercial license. And I said, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, you can start charging for your flying,
Yeah.
Anyway, I did that, and then So I had my full commercial license while I was still doing a normal day job.
Yeah.
And then a mate just popped out of the woodwork and said, "Do you want to fly my aircraft?" Which was a King Air, which I had I needed some serious experience and conversions. I said, "I can't fly it. I need a type rating, and it's going to cost a lot. I'll sponsor it."
What?
And I thought, well, I always wanted to travel,
Yeah.
And I thought, this is my break, you
Yeah.
know. I can, so I did it. I just resigned instantly. And I remember the guy, when I went to resign, he said, I said, "I'd like to resign." He said, "You can't," because I had what are they called? These clauses where you're not allowed to work.
No, restraint of trade.
The restraint of trade thing. Because we were only a handful of cryogenic and combustion engineers in the country. And I said, well, and that was using liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen, the two applications that I was using. And he said, "You're not allowed to do that." Look, I'm going to stay in the air business. "No, you're not allowed to." And he blew his gasket. "Not allowed to, it's anything to do with gas. You're not allowed to do, a bit of a nitrogen and oxygen mixture. I'm going to hang into that business." He was really angry. And I said, "No, I'm going to go and fly aeroplanes." "What? You know how long it takes to get a conversion to do an airplane and a license and all that?" I said, "Yeah, no, I've done it all already, 'Cause I did all this flying part-time, behind the scenes. That's how I got into it. But getting back to that hand-eye coordination,
Yes.
creative edge maths, they have such a close relationship in your brain, because you got basically your left and your right brain working flat out in sync. Although your creative brain will be the dominating one.
Depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, because when you sit now and you engineer a part for your bike, for example,
Yeah.
I mean, you almost eyeball it because there's this matrix of maths going on in your brain,
That's actually wild, eh?
and you just do it.
All the ones and zeros running in the back of your head.
It is quite wild though that your brain starts acclimatizing to seeing such precision. Like I was we had to change a few designs for the bike, and I was machining something, and I was like, "Oh, that looks pretty much spot on." And then I pull out the vern, measure it. I'm like, "Whoa!" Get the micrometer. Obviously, my eyes aren't that good, but it's just amazing how you just cool. I'm gonna do this kind of guess in a way, and then you actually pretty darn close,
Pretty on point, yeah. Because for you, that change might look massive, but for somebody who doesn't know, they're like, "Dude, I can hardly see the difference."
You can see half a mil, or
yeah, exactly.
where most, I don't know. I mean, half
Most
a mil
people
is
won't
a
notice
lot.
that.
You see, in our game, half a mil is a lot.
Yeah, when somebody else looks at it, they're like, "I can hardly see the difference." And you're like, "I can't." He's like, "Well, I can."
Yeah, well, you remember that guy that crashed in the Hudson River?
Yeah.
Yes. What happened there?
And walked away. Now, there's a classic example of computing by your seat of your pants. So
On the fly.
I mean,
No pun
they
intended.
initially blamed him for not going to, I think it was Newark Airport. He took off and then suddenly they hit these birds. And he had a double engine failure. And so he had an option now whether to go back to Newark and land, or just put it straight in the river, the Hudson River in front of him. And he had a couple of seconds to make that decision, and he decided, okay, I'm going for the river. So initially they blamed...
So, sorry, to go for the river, was that the safest? Because if you try to turn back, you could crash into buildings or...
No, he wouldn't make the runway.
Okay.
So he would crash beforehand. That was what he said. He said, there wasn't enough time to make. I didn't have enough height and speed to make it back to the runway. So I chose to go for the Hudson River. That's the safest idea. So the insurance companies, of course, would really have a go at you. And so there was ongoing court cases where they said that he could have made it back So they were trying to make it pilot error.
Yes.
And there's all
So they don't
sorts
have
of
to pay out.
insurance
Yeah.
implications. So this trial went on and on and on. And so they had a bunch of guys that they put in simulators to do the same thing. And they made it back each time. And so came the final trial day. His defense attorney, which I think was basically himself, with some technical guys there, and I think there was an attorney involved, and they showed all these pilots doing this on simulator, and making it back. You know, you have okay, put off, you hit the birds, okay, everything back to Newark Airport, head back on their double engine failure. And the guy just made one statement. He said, all right, all these guys that did this were prepared for it.
Yeah.
They were briefed before what was going to happen. Now, put pilots in the simulator that don't know it, that don't expect it,
Clever.
which was what they did.
So true.
And none of them made it
No.
back to the airport because there was a few more seconds required to make that decision.
Yes.
Now, when you know, okay, when these engines fail, I'm going to immediately turn heading back to the airport and go. Now, when you don't know it's happening, okay, the engines failed. Shit. Okay, let me see what's happening here. Where am I? How far am I back to go back? There's just a few more seconds is required. Okay, I'm not going to make it because of that extra second.
You've
or
just
two.
preempted. So
it was literally a second or two
Crazy.
longer that they took to make that decision,
Change the course.
and they would never have made it. And that's how he was, you know, seen as a hero after that. And so that is flying by the seat of your pants. And he called it, I eyeballed it. Now I know exactly what he says by I eyeballed it because you've got all this metrics. I've often had it when I'm flying into a really dangerous airport, and they keep you high, typically in Italy, for example, or up in the Himalayas, a place called Bhutan. There's only one airport there next to Mount Everest and that. But, you know, when I'm flying, there was an airport in Italy once. They always keep you high, and then they give you a late descent clearance. And you got to figure out your flap settings and your glide approach and how much drag you must apply, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of calculations have to take place. Now, I'll be flying with a guy in the right-hand seat. I'll be freelancing, so he would be the co-captain, so to speak. And then, okay, you got your descent clearance, and then off I go. And I ask for various flaps and stuff, and he'd turn to me and say, you're not going to make it. I said, no, I'll make it. Pete, you're definitely not going to make this one. You know, we're too high. And I'd say to him, you'll be amazed what this plane can do, you know. A little bit of rudder and you add a little bit more drag. And but he said, but your speed is too much. And I said, I know. Because if the runway's over there, I'm heading to be at the level here. So that, but I'll be going fast. So, you know, you're heading on down, you get to there, and then when you level out, you apply all the drag and the flaps.
Okay.
The plane slows down hell of a fast in time to touch down over there. But if you're heading there, you'll be too fast when you're going there, you know. Anyway, you know, just relax, Mobbit, relax. It's
Got this.
yeah, I've got this. Watch this little bit of down rudder. Hold on 1 second. Security gates must be Byron and them. Hello. Thanks. You can let him in. Thanks very much. That's our next guest, guys. The one and only Byron Mitchell, race driver. Anyway.
Yes, man.
So when we landed, Elak said, "Pete, how did you calculate that shit? There was so much shit that you had to." I said, I eyeballed it. And I don't even know, and you will probably vouch for that. We don't even know how the shit we do it.
Yeah.
It's just
Your instinct, in a sense, because I mean, what you've been training your brain to do for I don't know how long, it just automatically takes over. And sometimes, I think
It computes shit. That's
Yeah.
It's part of those
If I had to go
10,000
and do it
hours. right?
mathematically, it'd be a string of formulas here and sin, cos, and tan, and all that bloody
What is
geometry shit.
What is the most hair-raising situation you've been in with flying? Like
Ooh.
to date,
Ooh.
that is just the
Yeah,
shit.
that's a good question. I've had a couple of incidents. I think probably the most hair-raising one is being shot down in Mozambique in a King Air 90.
Okay, I didn't
that's-
expect that one. Okay. I want to hear this.
Yeah, no, it's just they wanted to do a flight out there. That some developers, actually the Varties were involved there from Mala Mala, wanted to do a development in the south of Mozambique. I didn't want to do the flight because it was still a war-torn area and there were a lot of rebels and stuff operating in there. So they went on for 3 months. I said, no, I'm not going to do the flight. It's too dangerous. And the runway is all new. And so eventually they said, right, they've cleared the area. They've put 300 of their troops in there. They've cleared the area, the Mozambican Defense Force. And that I said, okay, fine. I want the general, the head of the Mozambican Air Force, on the plane with me. Then I'll go. Then I'll know it's safe.
Yeah.
Which they gave me. I went to Maputo. He got on board. Went there, and then on the descent into this place, it sounded like there was a bunch of guys standing outside the plane, hitting the plane with baseball bats.
What?
That's what it sounded like. Down, 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 really loud bangs. And I was quite close to the ground, probably 1,500 feet or maybe even 1,000 feet coming into land at this old derelict airport, which was cleared. And I looked back to the passengers, like I was trying to figure out what was going on. I had these like wide eyes all looking at me for an answer, like, yeah, what's happening,
Yeah.
And the guy next to me said, I think we've been shot at. And when he said that, it made immediate sense. And my emergency panel started lighting up, and I just did a bank to the left, went down to probably 20, 30 feet above sea level, straight for the sea.
Yeah.
Went out about a mile and then turned towards Richards Bay. The border was right there.
Sure.
And there's big diving resorts and that over there now. And thought I'll just go to Richards Bay, radio silence, so that there's no... Because the last guy that did that, he reported on the radio and he did a landing somewhere in Mozambique, and they got them and they killed them all. And they held the pilot for 2 years or something. So anyway, I went along, and looking at my fuel gauges, I could literally see them moving. So it obviously made sense that all the fuel tanks were ruptured. Okay. And there's no way I was going to make Richards Bay. So I looked for a piece of felt just, within the South African border. Found a nice old piece of felt. Briefed the guys, when this plane stops, we're doing an emergency landing. When this plane stops, take the fire extinguishers out the back and be ready to, because I'll be last out, because they're sitting in the back door and I'm sitting in front in the cockpit. And I was really worried, that the tires were perhaps ruptured.
Yes.
In which case, I think we were going to do a cartwheel if that was the case, because the undercarriage would dig in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it didn't. Boom, boom, boom. And as soon as it stopped, I sort of looked back to tell the guys bailed. But they were all out the plane already. There was nobody there.
They left the captain with the ship.
They left. That plane was still mobile. And but they were standing outside with the fire extinguishers anyway. Shut everything down and got out the plane. Told that general guy, I said the border's about 8 miles from here. Leave now. Don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
Don't even make any excuses, because this is the closest I've ever come to dying. And just head on out there, please. There are maybe a few lines between here and there, but you can just navigate.
You'll figure it out.
He had a brigadier with him, I think. And they were even on their radios. It turned out at the end of the day it was an assassination attempt on him by his own people.
Oh, my word. So actually was a disfavor to have the oak in your plane.
Exactly.
Oh, my word.
So that was very hairy. I mean, it was a long story to get out of there and that sort of stuff. But yeah,
Crazy.
and then when guys overload the plane,
Yeah.
and you go out, so a flight to Okabongo Delta once, and the plane was overloaded, and they didn't tell me. I get the weight and balance, all's good. Going out there, just past Harderwurst, put down from Lanseria, the one engine stops, I turn around. They were all asleep by then. They'd obviously had a hard day. And so now I'm cruising back, and I'm asking for vectors back to Lanseria, but I'm seeing that this thing's not maintaining its glide angle that it should be, under full power with one engine.
Okay, sorry, can you not pick it up when you take off the runway if they've overloaded really?
You can a little bit because your runway is a bit longer than anticipated.
Yeah.
But actually not. It's the single engine performance that comes into play.
Okay.
Now you've got one engine, so now suddenly this thing can't maintain altitude.
Yeah.
And but I did make it. The runway, if I had to land on the active runway, which was 06, I wouldn't have made it. That was the one in use, but I asked for straight in approach on the runway 24 to make it. Anyway, so I landed, and the first thing I said, unpack that baggage because this plane couldn't maintain altitude. And the guy had stuffed 2 generators in underneath the baggage. He snuck it in there.
Crazy.
So you can get all sorts of shit. Anyway.
Talk about risking your life.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, we have experiences. I mean, but getting back to your situation, I think we need to see what this.
We need to see what his experience is going to put on there.
Bikes, scramblers, jet skis, racing boats, and
I've definitely oversold
got to have a good hand-eye coordination.
Some say you can build a great bike.
So we put you in a standard. It's the same for everybody.
Okay.
It's the car's got a setup, same temperature on the day. It's a race car, so you'll have slicks. The track is, you'll see the track. We give the same track to everybody. I don't announce it on here because then the next guy that comes will
they're going to practice.
They're
Goes back to that
practice
pilot thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. He knows what to expect.
Yeah.
You won't know what the car and the track combination is.
Let me see if I make one lap before spinning out. But
No, but I'll give you roughly 10 warm-up laps to do.
Okay.
With some coaching.
Okay, there we go.
With the
Got the race
training
car
line as well.
Okay.
And
sounds a bit more appealing.
And then I give you 5. Then I give you 5 laps to do your quickest lap.
Okay. All right.
And we'll see how you
get Stoos
would
on the
have
board.
done against a couple of guys that have been out there.
Yeah.
We found a guy to give us a reference lap, and I found him walking around in the spa shop
Just down the road,
one day.
Is it the one down the road, yeah?
Just come give us a go on the simulator, and he put up a reference lap, and none of us have been able to get close.
And who was the racer?
We don't even know who he is.
The Stig.
He's called the Twig. We call him the Twig.
Some say he drinks Sterry Stumpies and eats garage pies.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, so let's go and do this hot lap, guys. And,
and then we'll get back on and to see what that results.
The debrief and see how you did it.
The debrief.
All right. Now, as you just make it a bit smoother.
Okay.
There we go. Third gear, flat. This is his quickest lap. Good braking.
Right. So, Alex, you are fresh from the hot seat, bro. How was that?
That, you know what? It's insane. It's actually insane. Like I was saying earlier, I had the opportunity a couple of months to try it out at my mate's house, but there was 10 of us. So, everyone's itching to get on. So I literally got in the car for 2 laps, and I crashed, and I realized how hard it was. So I was just like, forget about it. I'm never going to, everyone's itching to go. So I didn't ever have the need to try it again.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get the opportunity to actually experience it properly. But now I can understand why Oaks
Gets addictive,
Yes, it was so cool, especially with you guys coaching me through it. I came in there whiskey throttling up the corners.
How's those forearms feeling? You got that pump going there.
It's
crazy, right?
Workout, eh?
And I've
crazy.
actually got the force feedback set quite low.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I consider it really high. It's that you actually really wrestle with the steering
No,
wheel.
I wouldn't have made 12 laps.
So is this? So we considered you hooked now. I can see
It's a
Alex
lot of
going
fun,
home.
eh?
Alex is going to go home and he's going to go like, okay, what's
Yeah,
the price
you've
of a rig?
raced all these other items, boats,
Yeah.
jet skis. This
I'll
and
do a
that.
deal with the next Oak. Maybe you can throw in a simulator.
You
I'll
know?
take knock off a bit of
Exactly.
a price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any simulator sponsors out there? You know?
Yeah.
I've actually got a really nice race car that I want to sell now. The one that we just won the endurance series with. It's such an easy car to drive, but we'll get to that at another point. For those who want to buy a really good aero car that came third in the South African Endurance Series in 2023, the car's up for sale. Just DM me directly and you might get an incredible deal. Why do I want to sell it? Well, I'm trying to retire from racing. It's just
Done with this now.
yeah, I've done so much risky shit in my life, and I'm still
Risky
here
business.
today.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of thinking, maybe I should give it. I want to arrive and drive now. I mean, when you don't own a car, you arrive and drive. You rent a car. You just
Yeah.
pitch everything's set up for you. You pay a certain amount of money, and then the owner of the car let you loose on it.
That sounds way more less stressful. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
But then you get hooked, and then you buy your own race car, and then you got
fall
your
in
own
the black
maintenance
hole.
team, because your advantage is you've got maintenance guys, and that's where all the money is.
Yeah.
But it's expensive to work on your own shit, eh?
It's always,
Yeah, but
it's
you
always,
use
you
your own
can't, you
guys,
can't
you
cost
use
that
your own
stuff.
guys.
You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
cost
yeah.
that stuff. Eh?
So how did you feel that you actually? I know in the beginning, because it's obviously alien. But you got into the groove very quickly, I must say.
He was sliding a few corners. I was impressed.
Yeah,
Like really getting the tail out there.
But that's actually not impressive, because the more you slide, the more time you bleed
Yeah,
off.
no,
Yeah,
that's
it's true, that's
slower.
true.
But I mean,
And,
look, to control something like that on the games,
Yeah.
even the simulators, it's tough.
It
tough.
is. It's tough.
It's not
But
easy.
It's like in the
Well
real
done.
car.
Yeah.
It really is. When you talk to pro drivers like Byron Mitchell, he will do the same time on a simulator as what he does in the real car on the real track.
Jeez, that's ridiculous.
So it shows you how realistic it is.
Yeah.
But so how do you think you did?
Oof. I don't know. Like, I was getting a bit cheeky and at the beginning, but I think once I got my groove, I felt pretty good. Give me a little bit longer on there. I think I
Knock off a
could
few
maybe
seconds.
maybe compete with someone.
Yeah. Well, there's the guys that have been on here before. Look, we obviously this Tweed guy that we found walking around in the spa. And, he put up a time there. But then we've had Jonathan Thomas on board,
Yeah.
who's currently the record holder for the fastest around Kailami,
Oh shit.
top international driver.
Yeah.
And then there was Mikey Kay, who's a helicopter pilot for 20 years plus, and good hand-eye coordination stuff.
Yeah.
And then we had Rob Barber on, who's a wildlife guy,
Yeah.
who's with his off-road vehicles, a lot of feel and touch required with those off-road vehicles in those hectic environments and
Chasing the
stuff.
poachers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then we have Mr. Stoos. Right, so out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys now that we've had on it, Jonathan Thomason, who's the champion race driver's time,
Yeah.
was 1:45.5,
Sure.
which is 1 second slower than our Twig.
Yeah.
Damn, I don't know where this guy gets his. Yeah, we can find a guy in
I
a
don't know.
spa come and jump on this thing and put us all to shame.
But was
here
it
now.
a spa or was it Spa in Belgium? The racing. let's clarify.
Ah, good question. Good question.
Need some clarity.
And Mikey Kay, the helicopter pilot, did a 1:51.5.
Okay.
So that's basically 6 seconds slower than Jonathan Thomas. Jonathan Thomas was 1 second slower. He's a professional race driver. And Rob Barber, who's the wildlife guy, did a 151.9, slightly slower than Mikey K with all his helicopter stuff.
Yeah.
And Mr. Stoos, you did a 153.3.
Well done. Well done.
So that's, I mean, those guys,
That's
that's
a
a very good
respectable
time
time.
for somebody who's not used to driving race cars.
And as a first time on the sim, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, most of these guys first
And
time
I've
on the
actually
sim.
never ever ridden a supercar or anything. I've never raced.
Yeah.
Never
That's
even,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you immediately, initially were 30 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, the
And,
first thing was
you start getting the feel of the traction and the sliding and driving a car smoothly. But well done. I think that's still very good.
Good
that's,
job,
that's
man.
Only,
Good job.
That's what, 8 seconds, 44, 54. That's 9 seconds off the twig.
But he
And,
lives on
it's 8
another planet.
seconds
Yeah,
off
yeah.
a professional race driver on a track that's a long track.
yeah.
Well done, and I
Oh,
think that's
thanks.
bloody
Well done.
marvelous. And
Yeah.
hope to see you soon again one of these
Oh,
days.
I'm gonna have to
You're
come
welcome.
beat that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
Actually, once you're back from your adventures, I think we need to get you back in that seat, and you need to give us a bit of feedback on
Yeah.
how it went.
We'll
Hey?
Yeah,
consolidate
absolutely.
what happened.
Definitely.
And I need you on there too. You know, I've got a few little questions on your gear ratios there, which you say is quicker.
Well, I would go second rather than third.
yes.
Keep it in the rev range.
Yes, so that's quicker. All right.
We'll see how that coaching changed
the
Alex's approach there a
We're
little
going to
bit.
put that to the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But that was excellent. Loved
Yeah.
the interview. And,
Good one.
Yeah, thanks,
Stoos
guys.
Customs motorbike builders extraordinaire. I mean, what a pleasure it is to chat to somebody like yourself and to see the talent and the workmanship that is available in South Africa. It's really proudly South African. And
Yeah, exactly.
Leon, thanks for co-hosting here with me today.
Yeah, it was fun.
You
Got a lot more
really
to go.
heavily involved with that. And
Yeah, no, it was great having Alex here and
Yeah.
telling his story, man.
And yeah, thank you guys. I mean, it's awesome to so just hang out and chat with you guys and spread the information. And yeah.
put it out there.
Yeah.
Send. We'll put you on as a collaborator on our shorts, and let's get some likes and some
Follows.
subscriptions,
Yeah.
follows,
Yeah.
Get that going.
and get this thing going.
No, thanks to
Okay.
everyone who's supporting the channel.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Outstanding.
Awesome.
Thanks, Alex.
guys.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah, bye. Right.
Thank you so much.